My son's graduation was supposed to be the proudest day of my life. 18 years of raising him. 18 years of soccer games, homework help, college applications. And now here he was, in cap and gown, about to receive his diploma from the engineering program I'd encouraged him to pursue. I'm an engineer myself, vice president of engineering at a manufacturing firm. I'd been asked to give a short speech, 5 minutes, maybe 7, about perseverance and hard work. Standard stuff. I'd written it weeks ago. But 30 minutes before the ceremony, my wife Diane pulled me into an empty hallway behind the auditorium. "We need to talk." I assumed it was about the party afterward, the catering, the guest list, something logistical. I was wrong. "I want an open marriage," she said. No preamble, no build-up. Just the words delivered like a business proposal. I stared at her. "What?" "I've been thinking about this for a long time. I feel confined. I need more. I need freedom." "You're telling me this now? At our son's graduation?" "When else? You're always working. This is the first time I've had your full attention in months." I felt the floor shift beneath me. 22 years of marriage, one sentence to destroy it. "Who is he?" The question came out before I could stop it. Diane's expression flickered. Guilt, just for a second. "There's no one. This is about me, about us." She was lying. I knew it immediately. Diane had a tell. She touched her collarbone when she lied. She was touching it now. "I need to give my speech," I said. "So you'll think about it." I looked at my wife, the mother of my son, the woman I'd trusted completely. "I'll think about something," I said, and I walked toward the auditorium. I'd known for 3 months the open marriage demand wasn't a surprise. It was a confirmation. It started when I noticed changes. Diane started volunteering at our son's school. Strange, since he was a senior and barely needed parental involvement. She joined the college counseling committee. She attended evening meetings that ran late. Our son mentioned it casually one night. "Mom's really into helping Mr. Crawford with the applications." Mr. Crawford, the school's college counselor, 43 years old, divorced, charming. I did what any methodical person would do. I investigated. Credit card statements showed lunches I wasn't invited to. Phone records showed calls that lasted hours. Her location data showed visits to a condo downtown, Mr. Crawford's condo, during committee meetings. The affair had been going on for at least 4 months. A school counselor, a man in a position of trust with access to students and families, a man who was sleeping with the mother of a student he was advising. The ethical violation was staggering. I consulted a divorce attorney. I documented everything. I prepared for what I knew was coming. But I waited, because I needed the right moment, not for revenge. Revenge is messy, emotional, satisfying only in the moment. I needed clarity. I needed the truth to be undeniable. And I needed Diane to understand that her open marriage proposal wasn't a fresh start. It was the end of something she'd already broken. The graduation was perfect. A public venue, family and friends present, a speech already scheduled. I hadn't planned to use it this way. The original speech was about my son, about his achievements, about the future ahead of him. But that morning, after Diane left for the salon, I sat down and rewrote every word. Let me be clear about something. I didn't plan to humiliate her publicly. The speech I rewrote wasn't about revenge, it was about truth. For 3 months I'd carried the weight of this knowledge alone. I'd smiled at family dinners. I'd made small talk at school events. I'd watched Diane pretend that everything was normal while she built a secret life behind my back. I was tired of pretending. The original speech was 5 minutes about perseverance. The new one was 7 minutes about honesty, integrity, and the cost of deception. It didn't mention Diane by name. It didn't need to. Let me tell you about my finances, since they're relevant to what came next. At 51, I'd built a career that Diane never fully appreciated. She knew I made good money, $295,000 per year, as VP of Engineering. She enjoyed the house, the vacations, the lifestyle, but she didn't know about the stock options that had vested over 15 years. She didn't know about the consulting work I did on the side, $60,000 annually, deposited into an account she'd never seen. She didn't know about the real estate investments I'd made before we married, now worth over $800,000. Total net worth, approximately $2.1 million, most of it protected as separate property. Diane never asked about money. She assumed I handled it. She was right, I did. Just not the way she imagined. I'd also documented everything about the affair, screenshots, timestamps, location data, a folder that would make any divorce attorney smile. But more importantly, I'd filed a complaint with the school board. Mr. Crawford wasn't just having an affair. He was having an affair with the mother of a student he was actively counseling. He'd written recommendation letters for my son while sleeping with my wife. The conflict of interest was profound. The school board would investigate, quietly at first, then less quietly. His career would face scrutiny regardless of what happened in my marriage. That wasn't revenge either. It was accountability. At 2 p.m. the ceremony began. I sat in the front row with Diane on one side and her parents on the other. We looked like a perfect family. My son walked across the stage, received his diploma. The audience applauded. Then the dean introduced me. "We're honored to have one of our distinguished parents share a few words. Please welcome Mr. Daniel Mercer." I walked to the podium, looked out at the audience, found my son's face in the crowd, proud, excited, unaware. I took a breath. The speech I'd prepared that morning was in my pocket. 7 minutes, carefully worded. No names. Just principles. Diane was smiling in the front row. She thought this was about our son. She thought she'd won, that her open marriage proposal had caught me off guard, that I'd spend the next few weeks processing while she continued her affair. She was wrong. I began to speak. "Thank you, Dean Morrison, and congratulations to the class of 2024. Applause, smiles, normal. I was asked to speak about perseverance, about hard work, about the value of honesty in building a life worth living. I paused, made eye contact with my son. He nodded encouragingly. My son taught me something important this year. He taught me that integrity isn't just about what you do when people are watching. It's about what you do when you think no one will ever find out. The audience was attentive, polite. They expected platitudes. He taught me that trust, once broken, can sometimes be rebuilt, but it requires honesty. Complete honesty, not partial truths. Not convenient omissions, not secrets maintained for months while pretending everything is fine. I saw Diane's smile falter slightly. She wasn't sure yet. In my career, I've learned that systems fail when people prioritize their own comfort over their responsibilities. When professionals violate the trust placed in them, when they use their positions to pursue personal interests at the expense of those they're supposed to serve. Now I looked directly at Diane. Her face was pale. I've learned that when someone asks for freedom, they often mean they've already taken it. When someone proposes an open arrangement, they're really asking for permission after the fact. Murmurs in the audience. People were sensing something beneath the surface. But I've also learned this. The truth always emerges. Not always quickly, not always dramatically, but always inevitably. I pulled a folded paper from my pocket, held it up. This is a complaint I filed with the school board yesterday. It documents a relationship between a counselor at this institution and the parent of a student he was advising. A clear ethical violation. Gasps. The dean stood up, confused. I won't name names from this podium. That's not my purpose. My purpose is to say this to my son, in front of everyone who matters. I looked at him. His face was a mixture of shock and dawning understanding. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that the adults in your life weren't always honest with you. I'm sorry that the family you trusted looked different behind closed doors, and I'm proud, so proud, that you've grown into someone with more integrity than some of the people who raised you. The auditorium was silent. Diane stood up suddenly, face red, and walked toward the exit. Her mother followed, confused. I continued, "Congratulations to all the graduates. May you build lives based on honesty. It's harder than the alternative, but it's the only thing that lasts." I stepped away from the podium. The applause was scattered, uncertain. People didn't know how to react. But my son was walking toward me, pushing through the crowd. When he reached me, he didn't speak. He just hugged me. That was enough. The divorce was finalized in 5 months. Diane tried to fight at first. She claimed emotional abuse, public humiliation, damage to her reputation. Her attorney pushed back hard. But the documentation was overwhelming. The affair, the location data, the complaint to the school board which had independently confirmed my allegations. Mr. Crawford was terminated. He lost his counseling license after a formal hearing. The school wanted to avoid publicity. They settled quietly with affected families. Diane received what the law required, nothing more. Separate property remained mine. The settlement reflected documented adultery. She moved to another state, started over. I don't know if she's happy. I don't think about it often. My son took it hard at first. He blamed himself for not seeing it, for not noticing. I told him the truth. This was never his burden. Adults make their own choices. We're closer now than we were before. He calls every Sunday. He's in graduate school, studying structural engineering, following in my footsteps, but finding his own path. I bought a smaller house after selling the family home. Modern, efficient, quiet. I cook dinner most nights. I've started woodworking, something I never had time for before. I built a bookshelf last month. Nothing fancy, just solid joints and clean lines. Some evenings I think about that speech, whether it was too much, whether I should have handled it differently, privately, quietly, without an audience. But then I remember Diane in that hallway, asking for an open marriage while our son was about to graduate. The timing she chose, the lies she expected me to swallow. And I remember my son's hug afterward. That was the only answer I needed.